ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome down here to Tiger Island for our first behavioural presentation of the day on silence. Now over the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, along with a bit of help from my colleagues, of course, Peter, Scott and Keith, we're going to try and demonstrate to you some natural activity and behaviour from these magnificent big cats. All the tigers that you'll see out here throughout the day have been hand-raised. It's this hand-raising process when combined with training and conditioning, what you're about to see, it gives us the ability to do some pretty amazing things. Having said that though folks, at no stage we force the tigers to do anything. Instead we're trying to encourage them to be active with the use of various rewards. On offer we have some frozen milk, we have some milk in a carton, and of course the tiger's favourite raw meat. Now these rewards are great, but they don't guarantee a thing. In fact, sometimes our tigers lack a bit of motivation. And that's where you folks out there are very important to the success of this presentation. We've learned over the years that your reaction and your response to what you're seeing out here, well, that's also a great reward for the tigers. So if you do see something you enjoyed or you thought was a bit spectacular, feel free to show your appreciation with lots of clapping, screaming and cheering, and hopefully we'll get a good result from that. Alright guys, we'll go through now and introduce you to everyone so you know who you're looking at, and then how about after that we start off with a nice big round of applause. Firstly, I'll start off with our oldest tiger out here, Sultan, right in front of me. Sultan is a 15-year-old male and weighs in, he's our heaviest tiger, at 185 kilos. He was born here, part of a litter of 4, and his dad in fact was a white Bengal tiger and his mum was an orange Bengal tiger who carried the white recessive gene. So that meant that Sultan also carries that recessive gene. Over here we have with Peter, we've got Baru, and Baru is a 2.5-year-old male. And he weighs in at about 165 kilos, 2.5 years old, that's not quite fully grown. However, he's not going to get any bigger. He's just going to mature a little bit and maybe fill out a tiny bit, but his weight will stay about the same. Baru, he does enjoy doing these presentations, tends to be a little bit lazy at times. He loves the treats and rewards, just doesn't like to have to do too much work to get those treats and rewards. And then over here with Keith, Baru's brother, this is Ravi. Ravi from the same litter, so 2.5 years old as well. Very similar weight to Baru at about 165 kilos. He can be a bit fidgety, easily distracted, but again today, with a bit of luck, we'll get to see some great activity from him. So there you have it guys. How about we give these 3 tigers a big round of applause. Ravi, Sultan and Baru. Okay, now our first reward for our tigers is just milk, plain old milk. And it's a nice soft reward for them, but it does allow us to show off some simple behaviours. Like the first one, we like to call this a sit-up behaviour for a very obvious reason. Look at Ravi, he's ready in position, Sultan as well. And let's go with Baru. So come on guys, a bit of a round of applause. That's not a bad start, all 3 tigers sitting in position. Now this behaviour, as you can see, it gives the tiger a height advantage. Now this is important because in the wild, the tigers, they're solitary animals. So one of the ways that they communicate is through scent marking. They deposit scent marking on the trunks of trees or on the underside of overhanging foliage. So sitting in a position like this gives them access to those out-of-reach scent marks and they give it a good whiff, and from there they can find out all sorts of information. Some of you may have been here earlier when Sultan, he appeared to be smiling at everyone. Well, they pull a funny face when they smell a scent. It's called a Clement response. But it kind of does look like they're smiling. But what they're doing when they do that is they're investigating the scent marking. So it's a great way for them to communicate without actually seeing one another. So have you seen that's a good height advantage? But take a look at this next behaviour, a little bit more of a true height advantage. Hopefully our tigers are now going to stand nice and tall up against the handlers in a similar fashion to what they would do up against the trunk of a tree. And you can see Sultan here, he's not fully stretched out. We're just simply not tall enough to stretch him out fully. He's around about 9 foot tall. He's much longer and taller than the other 2 younger tigers. But again, of course, this behaviour, used against the trunk of a tree, drag their claws down the tree, keeps their claws in good condition, and also got small scent glands between their toes. So there's another way for them to mark territory. But as they drag their claws down the tree, not only is it keeping their claws in good nick, it's actually leaving behind a visible scar that other tigers will recognise. So there's lots of ways that a tiger will communicate out there in the wild without actually seeing other tigers around. And again, this boils back to the fact that they are solitary animals. Now, typically, as they do drag their claws down the tree,
he's got his feet around right shoulder.
Also done on the shoulders of the handlers. So if you notice them tapping the tiger on the paw, giving the paw a bit of a squeeze, it's just reminding the tigers to keep their claws to themselves. I can assure you guys that tigers actually, they've got all of their claws, and we're not real fond of that free acupuncture that's on offer. Now they don't need to lean up against anyone or anything. They can in fact stand on their back legs all by themselves. Typically they will only do it in an aggressive stance when they're fighting with another tiger. For our two youngsters, they get along great, so they're mostly just sparring, they're play fighting with one another. But if Sultan gets involved, he's very serious about it. Ravi's straight in position over there, guys. You can see him standing on his back legs, bringing up those big front feet. Same with Farou's got a few width there, and if we can get Sultan involved as well, he will show you what a real fight stance looks like. He's a more experienced animal, he's got a lot of strength in his back legs. So come on guys, let's give you a big round of applause for that. So we don't want to see this behaviour naturally on the island because it means that they're going to get into a huge fight. We probably haven't done their job properly to try and discourage it. We don't want them fighting because they can inflict serious injuries. They do a lot of damage with their claws. They do much more damage with their teeth. In my hand, here's a plastic replica of a canine tooth of a tiger. The top part of this tooth is the root of the tooth, so it's embedded deep into the jaw. But have a look at the real deal here. We do not remove their teeth, as I mentioned. We don't remove their claws, so why would we remove their teeth? They need these teeth to be successful hunters in the wild, of course, and here they need them to make sure they can eat a healthy diet. Those big canine teeth are the killing tools of the tiger. They're capable of biting right to the gum line. You notice there's a naturally occurring gap behind that canine tooth. So when they bite down into their prey, there's really no chance of escape. Their back teeth are quite different to ours. If you ever looked at your own dog's or cat's teeth, their back teeth are kind of like a mountain ridge. The reason for this is for cutting, it's not for grinding. They have no sideways movement of their jaw, so therefore they're not technically chewing their food, they're cutting it up and then swallowing it whole in most cases. Alrighty guys, have another little round of applause for those milk behaviours. That's not a bad start. We've warmed the tigers up now. And it's time to try and show off some more spectacular behaviours. Now we do that by upping the ante. We're not necessarily now going to offer the milk. We're going to offer something a little bit more exciting, some raw meat. So we'll move Faru across over here onto our logs. We'll get him to do a simple jump of only 3 metres here from log to log. They're actually capable of jumping up to 6 metres. So as he does this jump, guys, watch the flick of the tail. Now they're very, I guess, energy efficient animals, so they only use as much energy as they need. The flick of the tail gives him that extra bit of... That was concerning, a bit too much energy, I think.
You're being lazy.
He's actually jumping back from the shade into the sun. We've just got to get him up there and focus. Here's a young tiger, of course, guys. I mentioned before, him and Ravi here behind me. It looks like Ravi's going to have to maybe take over here. They're only 2.5 years old, so very easily distracted. Guys, keep your eyes on Ravi. We're going to get him to do it instead. Maybe do something with him in a little bit. There we go. Come on, guys. Give him a bit of a round of applause. So as you saw there, that tail flick. Up it goes. It's very thick. It's very muscular, so it's offering them forward momentum. But it's also giving them and making sure they keep their balance. So it can spin counterclockwise or clockwise, and by doing that, they're able to keep their balance. So we'll bring him down onto the ground. It looks like Faru's pretty keen to show off how he jumps. Oh, nice finish. Give him a round of applause there, guys. Okay, Pete, let's see what he can do. Alright. Here we go. Come on, guys. Oh, there we go. And back again. One more. Just to prove that he can do it. Slightly different jumping technique. Oh, he almost didn't make that one. We want to make sure that it must be in the sun, right? Alright guys, now a little bit more of a formal method of training for our tigers here. We obviously need to make sure that the tigers stay healthy. One of the ways we do that is just through routine veterinary care. Now, the way we do that is by, as you can see, grabbing these big mouth cords and then encourage our tigers to go and stand on them. At least once a year we'll do a complete check of the tigers, and we do that whilst they're awake and alert. Right there you can see Ravi here, he's standing on the mark cord, he's rewarded for it. So we can approach him, we can take a blood sample, we can take his temperature, we can give him his vaccination, we can do it all over body check. That's very simply done whilst they're awake and alert. Even big fellas like Sultan here, because he's more experienced, we can actually do x-rays and ultrasounds on them whilst they're awake and alert. So it's hugely beneficial, not just to knock them out to do those simple procedures. One thing you probably also noticed is our tigers, they can move from point A to point B, just with hand cues and verbal commands. So that's very beneficial when we get involved in media work. Now, over the years we have been involved in all sorts of media work, such as feature films and TV commercials and documentaries, all that sort of stuff. Our tigers get paid pretty well to do that. Now the important thing here is that that money goes into our Dreamworld Wildlife Foundation, and that's how we support wild tiger conservation. Folks, unfortunately the tiger in the wild is not doing too well. About 100 years ago it's estimated that there was around 100,000 tigers. We've managed to wipe out about 97% of the original population, so now they're down to less than 3,000 in the wild. Unfortunately, their body parts are still used in traditional medicines, and of course the habitat is being destroyed. So what we're trying to do here, and it's our responsibility obviously, to look after these animals and try and make sure that we can also look after their wild cousins. So we do that through our Wildlife Foundation, also through our donation boxes. Just over on the blue wall behind you there's a big sign. Next to that sign is our donation box. There's also one in the shop behind you. Guys, every single cent that goes into those donation boxes goes to wild tiger conservation. We simply need to help fund the groups that are out there doing the hard work, protecting the tigers, protecting the habitat, and protecting the other species as well. So if you can help us out, folks, in a very direct way to try and help save tigers, through those donation boxes, we would really appreciate every single bit of help we can get. Okay, that's the very serious side of what we're doing here, guys, but you've come down here to see some more spectacular behaviours.